Hi, this is Oaks Fegley.
And I'm Laura Marano.
We're here talking to Lindalee.
Woohoo!
Hey guys, it's me Lindalee, and today we are chatting with the cast from the hilarious new family comedy, The War with Grandpa. The War with Grandpa is about a 6th grader named Peter, who is forced to give up his bedroom to his grandfather when he moves into Peter's house. Not happy with that decision, Peter creates all kinds of elaborate pranks to try and get his grandfather to move out. But his grandpa isn't ready to go without a fight with his own pranks and some of his friends to help him along the way. Alright, kicking things off, I'm talking to Oaks Fegley, who plays Peter in the movie. You may remember earlier this year, I interviewed his younger brother Winslow from the Disney Plus movie Timmy Failure. And I'm chatting with Laura Marano, who plays Mia, Peter's older sister. Laura is great. I had the chance to interview her before at Zag Studios, and also got to be on a Miraculous Ladybug panel with her at Comic-Con a few years back. Thank you guys so much for talking to me today. So of all the different and elaborate pranks that went on in this movie, were there any that had some crazy results on or off camera that were really memorable?
I mean, there was definitely some craziness happening. I think there was a moment where me and Mr. Deniro are squirting different condiments at each other. And there was mustard on my pants that I could not, that wardrobe could not get out for the life of them. It just lasted for a long time, so.
There were a lot of great talent in this movie. And of all of them, who was the funniest person on set to work with?
Ooh, that's a hard one. There were so many amazing people. I think Rob was pretty funny. Rob was pretty hilarious. He is a big improver. It was pretty cool having him be my dad. He was just like always cracking jokes. He was funny.
Yeah, I would say for me, we were working a few years ago. We were good friends, and when we were younger, we really became pretty good friends really quickly. Me and my co-star JC, Julio Cesar. So we were good friends and had a lot of laughs both on and off set, and hung out a bunch of times. So I would say he's probably the funniest person that I worked with on this.
Peter is just weak, small, and dumb.
You're a bad friend.
Oaks, you played pretty rough and got a lot of air in that Sky Zone dodgeball scene. So how much of that were stunt doubles and were on wire rigs for some of those scenes?
I think I was on a wire rig for a little bit of it, but I think I had a stunt double for some of the more crazy things. There were some people who were just like shorter people, and they were my stunt double, and for some of the other kids as well. And I think even some of the older people definitely had their own stunt doubles as well. So there was a little bit of that, but I think for the most part it was us doing a little bit of this shot here, this shot there. So it ultimately was a lot of just camera trickery and piecing together and editing.
It's a tie.
Thank you so much for talking to me. I had a really fun time. Yeah, thank you.
Our absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for interviewing us.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much. So right now I'm chatting with actress Jane Seymour and actor Cheech Marin. They're part of Robert De Niro's squad in the film. Hi. Jane, Cheech, it's such a treat to be chatting with you guys. Thank you for joining me today. So you both looked like you played pretty rough and got a lot of air in that Sky Zone dodgeball scene. How much of that were stunt doubles, and were you on wire rigs for some of those scenes?
No, I actually did everything on my own sets. I used to be a professional dodgeball player in Europe. I was in the European leagues, and then when I got drafted into the U.S., and I played for 17 years for the L.A. Dodgeballers.
Yeah, no wires for us. Other people had wires. The children had wires, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
But even wires wouldn't have saved some of us older folks. But we all actually did an enormous amount more than we probably should have done but we were very grateful not to have been taken off to an ambulance at the end of it. That's pretty crazy stuff.
Hey, you can't get me, I'm on fire! Sorry, Danny.
I was afraid I was going to die in that room.
Oh, and Cheech, I loved your face when the Christmas tree fell on the barbecue grill and it went up in smoke.
You know, a little crossbreeding there.
My frags!
That's not good.
So working with such fun personalities like Robert De Niro and Christopher Walken, which one of you walked away from this movie being able to do a good impression of either one or both? And if so, can we please hear it?
I could do a Robert De Niro impression.
Yeah, that's true. Or if you ask him to take a photograph with you, instead of saying no, he just says this. He goes, very clever. I never thought of that. You don't want to do a photograph with someone, you just...
So this movie was a lot of fun to watch, but what was the most fun scene for you to shoot?
I think dodgeball. I think that was really, really fun because everyone was in it, and that was, that's the most fun. The entire cast.
Yeah.
That was cool.
That was probably my favorite.
My old days when I was a professional dodgeball player. And I started off, and I played in Israel for 3 years too. So,
what did you think? Did you think this is a movie that kids are gonna like?
Oh, definitely. This is like the best, like the funniest movie I've ever seen this year, probably.
Really?
Yeah, but my favorite scene was the dodgeball scene. It was really fun.
And what did you think about all these old people like us being in this movie? Did that?
I loved it. It was kind of relatable.
It was. Oh, you have grandparents like this?
Totally.
Oh, well, do you think they'll appreciate the way we played them?
Yes, definitely. So what's the message that people can take away from this movie?
Be good to your grandkids. Don't take their room.
I think the grandkids and everyone has to realize that, when you're older and maybe you're lonely, that it's not easy to transition into having to share your home with your kid and your grand. Yeah. You want to have your own life, but sometimes you can't. And family is everything, really.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for talking to me. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you. Next up, we are talking to Grandpa himself, Robert De Niro. Hi, Robert. So, I was wondering, are you excited for families to go back to theaters to watch this movie?
I would hope that people would come and enjoy the movie and stay safe because of we still have to be wary and careful. But hopefully all that can happen and then they can enjoy the movie.
Okay, so last question. Do you think we're ever going to see a War with Grandpa sequel?
It would be interesting if I don't know if this would ever even be thought of, but I did a sequel, including the current situation we're all in with the virus and so on. It'd be interesting to see the family cramped together and what comes out of that. Would be kind of funny.
Thank you so much for talking to me. Bye. Before it was a movie, it was a book. And thanks to the interest and passions of one boy who loved the story, his dreams to make this into a major motion picture brought it to life. So, Trey, what interested you into reading this book?
Well, it was actually originally a school assignment. So, I was originally reading it because it was due in a couple weeks. But once I started reading it, I started actually getting really into it. And I just loved the story so much. And I was so excited to watch the movie once I was done, because there was a rule in my house where I had to read the book before I watched the movie. So once I was done reading it, I was so excited. Oh man, I'm about to see this movie. And turns out it wasn't even there. I'm gonna find it. So, yeah.
That's really interesting. At what point while reading the book did you think, wow, this should be a movie?
Well, it was because I wanted to see the movie. It was just, I was 8 years old at the time. So, I had a pretty one-track mind and I just wanted to see the movie to it, and I just remember that my parents were in the movie business. And I asked my mom, I was like, Mom, I want to see this movie tomorrow, thinking that it will come out the next day once they were done. And, 7 years later, we're able to present it to everybody in the world, which, makes me happy.
That's really cool that your dream to make it a movie came true. That's so awesome. So Mom and Dad, when Trey came to you with the idea, what were your first thoughts?
Well, he
sucks.
Oh. At first, I was just appeasing him at first. He said, Mama, this is so good. Read the book. I read it. And when I read it, like he said, once you start reading the book, it's a very small book. It's not that big, but it had so much heart and it had such a good message. And I thought, you're right. This would make a good movie, And so I taught Trey how to do a pitch, and we pitched it to his dad. So Dad took over. He thought it was cute at first.
It was cute. I was traveling the next day at a 6-hour flight. I was able to read the book in a couple hours. Called home when I landed. The kid is onto something. We should option this. Let's develop it. I think it could be a home run.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's so amazing that the movie came to life for you, and that's so awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, have a good one.
Finally, I'm chatting with actor and comedian Rob Riggle, who plays Arthur, the dad in The War with Grandpa. Hi, Rob. Thanks for taking the time to talk to me today.
Hello. Nice to meet you.
So when you shot yourself in the face with the fire extinguisher during the Christmas party scene, what was really in that extinguisher that got all over you?
What was in there? That is a great question.
Oh, all right, pull the pin. Got it. Point away from
It definitely wasn't anything toxic, I don't think. But it was some sort of powder. It was a powder. It wasn't like whipped cream or anything. Wasn't it? It was a powder, I thought. I can't remember. I remember I didn't eat it, so I don't think it was edible.
Yeah, I don't think it would be edible. So this movie was a lot of fun to watch, but what was the most fun scene for you to shoot?
I had a lot of fun when we did some of the bigger comedy scenes. So when Robert Deniro, I think there's a scene in the film where he's hanging from a gutter on the side of the house. That was a pretty big moment, but I think that was definitely a fun scene.
Who was better to work with, Deniro or Christopher?
They're both outstanding. There was no one that was better than the other. But everybody on that cast was kind of a legend in Hollywood. Uma Thurman, Robert De Niro, Christopher Walken, Cheech Marin, Jane Seymour, these are legends. And then Laura Marano. I remember her from when she was on Ally and Austin and Ally. I loved her on that, and she's such a sweet person. And of course, Oaks is a phenomenal actor, and Poppy, and so the kids on the set were fantastic as well.
Laura also said that you were a lot of fun to work with, so yeah, that's cool. So what's a takeaway that people can take from this movie?
Hopefully the takeaway is family, and whatever that means to you. Spending time with your family, communicating, understanding, coexisting, connecting with your family. It's important, and multi-generational too. Not just connecting with your siblings or your parents, but your grandparents. They've got so many great stories to tell if you'll just ask them. Be curious about your grandparents, because they will tell you stories that will amaze you, and you'll see them in a whole different light. So I encourage people to ask more questions of each other.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me. Bye.
Absolutely. Nice to meet you. Bye.
Well, I hope you enjoyed my interviews with some of the cast of The War with Grandpa. Be sure to catch it when it comes out on October 9th, 2020. On the scene, from quarantine, I'm Lindalee. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.